Hey there, Chloe here, your podcast co-host. With everything so heightened right now, fear, stress, uncertainty, it's clear that self-care isn't just nice to have, it's essential. And let's be real, a bubble bath just isn't always going to cut it. We know that when the world feels heavy, tending to your energy is just as important as anything else we do for ourselves. That's why we put together the Ultimate Self-Care Bundle, a collection of the top 5 self-care practices we use on the daily to clear our energy, boost our vitality, and stay resourced in times like these. Inside, you'll get the golden rule to health, well-being, and happiness. Yes, it's a game changer. An energetic detox bath recipe that's way more than a bubble bath, a quick immune boost we swear by, and 2 other powerful tools to reset and recharge when you need it most. If you're feeling drained, overwhelmed, or just need a real reset, grab your free bundle at lakiaramethod.com/podcast-bundle. That link is also in your show notes. We hope these tools support you as much as they've supported us. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Activate Change podcast, where transformation is just a conversation away. Some episodes drop you straight into the healing field itself, where you'll experience raw, unscripted healing sessions where you're invited into the room with us. An intimate front row seat to emotional release, energetic transformation, and profound awakening. All of these sessions are led by Gabriele LaChiara, renowned healer and creator of the LaChiara method. Others widen the lens through unfiltered and expansive conversations with thought leaders, healers, and change makers exploring what it really takes to grow, heal, and live with integrity, resilience, and joy in these unprecedented times. Most of these conversations will be led by me, Chloe Faith Urban. I am the co-director of the LaChiara method and also have a private healing practice of my own. This isn't just a podcast. It's a come as you are, cry if you need to, permission to be human kind of space. We're not here to fix you. We're here to walk the wild, wacky, beautiful path of life with you, one messy, magical step at a time. This week's podcast episode is incredibly special to me. I'm honored and overjoyed to share a conversation I had in the fall with one of my beloved mentors, Arrowhawk, also known as James Goodin, a Cherokee elder I was introduced to by another dear mentor, Melody. Over New Year's last year, my partner Melody and I traveled to the Ozarks to visit Arrowhawk and his wife Laura at their beautiful Red Road to Wellness Center. What unfolded there was life-changing in ways that are still integrating. The depth of care, compassion, and grounded spiritual wisdom that flows through Arrowhawk is undeniable, and the healing that I received from being there was so life-changing that I can honestly say there's the me before I went and the me after. As you listen to this conversation, I invite you to go beyond the words, to feel into the energy of the exchange. Let yourself receive the invitation, the presence, the transmission that comes through simply by being in his field. Here's a little more about James before we dive in. James is a retired Army Native veteran who served in Vietnam. He returned home forever changed. Following the native healing of sweat lodges, herbs, diet, and ceremony, he was able to get his own healing back on track, wanting to give back to all those who suffer mental and physical problems. His journey took him to working for the state mental hospital and then onto the VA as a surgical technician. Retiring from the VA, he was free to set up his dream of a wellness center that would help the body, mind, and spirit. Currently, Jim and his wife Laura are the owners of the Red Road to Wellness Center located in the beautiful Ozark Mountains of Missouri. And just a quick note about the recording. We had a few technical hiccups, so you'll hear that this conversation happened over the phone and the audio isn't quite as crisp as some of the other interviews. There's also a brief break midway through where we had to pause and return to the conversation another day. It may feel a little chopped at moments, but I chose to keep it this way so as not to lose the nuggets of wisdom that happened around the bumpiness. I hope you feel as touched and nourished as I was in this exchange. Let's dive in. I am so deeply honored to welcome Arrowhawk to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
And thank you for welcoming me. It is an honor to me as well.
I have had such the honor and privilege to be on your land and experience time with you there in the Ozarks. And I can honestly say that it feels like there was my life before that time and my life after that time, and how much transformation and healing and love and laughter was shared in that time with you was really transformative. And I'm honored to be able to share just a bit of your wisdom and presence with our audience and community. So I'm forever grateful for our relationship and for your mentorship and guidance, and very much looking forward to this conversation and this journey together today. I'm wondering if you wanted to start with any sort of prayer to open the space together, to just land us in this energy. I know this will be a conversation. I know also just the nature of being around you is very much of like letting spirit lead and finding our way in and through this journey together. So I'm curious if you would want to land us in that way.
Well, I can say a prayer, a small prayer to our Creator for allowing us to be on this planet today and enjoying the air and the water and all these things that surround us. I just thank that Creator for so much and bringing you and other people here to fulfill my mission. I hope.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
When you say a prayer to the Creator, it's you have to be you have to be in the heart and the mind together, and the result is always a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Any prayer that we say, we use our heart and our mind. It means something. It's not just words. There's an energy going out with it. Best I can say about opening up with a prayer.
It's so resonant for me, and something that I've known but felt like it was just re-inspired and reawakened in me is that I would say, being with you, for me, to feel the presence, to feel that deep faith I hear in that when you're saying that of what it is to be in prayer space, to live from the heart and to have a deeper faith in something greater than just our human form and just what's happening in just this 2D, 3D dimensional reality of physical life. And I'm curious to hear from you, and you really take this however you want to go with any of my questions, but I am curious, what is it to hold faith in this time for you, to hold all that we're sitting with as a human species at this time? I mean, in so many ways, a lot of people are saying, oh my goodness, this is like the worst of the worst. And yet I know, especially for Indigenous peoples and many peoples all over the world, genocide and horrific wars have been happening forever. And I'm curious how you feel like faith and connection to spirit, how it influences or how we can hold that in times of deep challenge, like it seems like we're facing here, at least in the United States at this time. I'm curious what you have to share about that.
Well, you started off with the faith. My belief is strong you put those two together and you come up with a knowing. Mm-hmm. So there had your sacred trinity again, the three, mind, body, spirit, So that's the beginning of it. And the question was, how does that work with me?
How does that influence you? And also, how do we, those of us that are here and that are on the planet at this time, how does having faith and how does awakening to that sacred trinity in our own selves, how does that actually support holding devastation and war and challenges and all that we're facing and looking at, particularly in this country, but also the world right now?
I've always been a person of very few words. I've been told that I can say a whole lot in just a few words, and my word is connection. When humanity loses its connection to the earth, to everybody around them, you become isolated. And when you become isolated, you build a shell, and the shell bounces off other shells, and pretty soon you have this chaos. The Native people have been dealing with this stuff for years and years. It's no new thing. There was differences among the tribes. There was differences. It's just a humanity thing. You got more than me, I want it. Or whatever the illusion of scarcity brings. That's how I deal with this present, and then I try to pass that on to people. Hey, we're human. We make mistakes. We pick ourselves up. We learn from it. If we do it again, shame on me. That's where I come from with and it doesn't matter where you at. What I mean by that is I don't care what color your skin is, what your blood is. We're all human, and that's where we got to start. Your connection between the human, the earth, the divine. Everything comes in threes. It's kind of a wild thing. So if that helps answer your question,
it does. It does.
It's kind of, but it's got a lot of heart there. When you have heart, then you have the rest.
Yeah.
It all flows together, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Without rain, the river wouldn't flow.
Right. Without rain, the river wouldn't flow. So true.
Yeah, you got to have the lightning and the thunder and those things to promote. Hey, where are we at? What are we doing? What can we do for each other? Not what we can take from each other. I get this 40 acres down here in the Ozarks, and it's sure it says my name on the paper, but it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the earth, and I belong to the earth. Yeah. So everybody who comes here can walk on land that it's like their land. You have that feeling, And there's an energy that's put on this property that welcomes people of open heart and open to healing and open to listening.
It's such a powerful reminder, and I think that there's so much that's designed in this world to keep us disconnected, and just the simple words of wow, connection, right? connection to earth, connection to each other, connection to our heart, connection to divine, connection to spirit.
And how do you get your the next word is, how do you get your connection?
Yes.
That is through ceremony.
Yeah.
You can get a cup of coffee and ask that coffee to do the best it can for you, or water or whatever, and that's a ceremony in itself, and you're recognizing the beauty in that and the respect for that. Ceremony can be done at any moment. So, of course, there's ceremonies that we do, for like the Sweat Lodge and things like that. The O.C. Amanuwadi, which helps bring people back. It helped thousands of clients down in Florida with drug problems and self-esteem. And that's where it all was. They had no self. The ceremony brought them back to that. They brought them back to themselves and connection.
Yes. It's like simple words and yet such a powerful thing to sit with and be with. Like, wow, what is it to be in ceremony together in a circle, being held and guided in ceremony to reconnect with ourselves. I'm curious, you mentioned the sweat lodge ceremonies and also working with addiction. I'm curious to hear, the sweat lodge in and of itself is, I learned some about it when I was there in lodge with you and hearing about how that all works, but I'm curious for you to share a little bit more about the ceremony itself, how it connects people back to themselves, and then what's the sort of the arc healing journey after that? How does that integrate and actually move deeper in a deeper way and deeper healing to help people, yes, with addiction, because I want to hear more about that too, but also I know there's plenty of people that come that are just struggling or not even struggling, but are there to connecting with themselves deeper. And I'm curious how that sweat lodge ceremony, how that helps with connecting ourselves back to ourselves.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Just a small little question.
But when I came back from Vietnam in 1971, I was back about, maybe 6 months, and I heard about a sweat lodge, and so I said, I'm going to try that, because I had these issues from guilt and all that stuff from Vietnam, and so I attended that, and there was a Lakota ceremony, and it really scared me because I'm a warrior. I just come back from a place that was not easy to come back from, and so I thought I was tough, but ceremony showed me who I really was. You're human, you're a warrior as well, but you're also human. And like I said, it scared me so much that I stayed away from it for about a year, maybe 2 years. I had to get my stuff together, I guess. So I had to go back. It affected me so much. I got to do this again. So I went back and I was a man on the Missouri River that was doing lodges, about once a week. And so I started fire tending for him and got me introduced to not just the fear of the lodge, but the respect of the lodge. And it started my path. I thought, wow. And so I fire tended for many years. And then one day the the pourer didn't show up, and they asked me to pour. And I thought, well, I'm a pourer. I'm just a fire tender. But, the divine, I didn't know what am I going to say, And so I didn't have to worry about it. Divine was right there with me. And I knew the power of the divine, by going in the last door of every lodge, being a fire tender. I always went in on the last door and got that feeling. And man, it was so great. And then they asked me to pour, and that scared me again. But make a long story short, that's where I got my start. And there was people, I had said word to them that brought tears to their eyes, and what were you? How did you know this? And and I'm going, I don't. I only do what I'm led to say in there. It's not me talking. And I've kept that all these years. That was like doing this for over 30 years now. And it hasn't changed. It's still the same. It's that the love that you feel in that lodge. Sure, it's a little intimidating at first, but by the time the lodge is over, you feel your love. You feel yourself. You feel your connection.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to the folks in Florida at the rehab. It's a very fancy rehab. There's some Hollywood people there. I can't mention any names, but they got affected by that lodge. And I see them on TV every so often. They go, yeah, still doing good. You got off that alcohol. Most of them had alcohol issues. But, Anyway, I just know it works, and it works for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're an Indian, Native, what blood you are, or where you come from. You got 2 legs. You walk, you eat, you breathe. Come in the lodge. Like you, Chloe, I didn't know you. I heard, of you, and I told about you, and then you came here. I met you, and I saw the energy in you that, you're a healer. You do what you see you're going to do, and allow the divine to proceed with that. You're that in connection, and I see that in people. I go, wow, that's cool. So
thank you so much for sharing that. And just listening is actually, it's like moving me to tears, in that, just that the remembering of that feeling, and also that it's not just a remembering, it's something that I've taken with me, and that, those 4 or 5 days after the lodge, and we spoke, we were together day in and day out for, all together there, and being able to be in conversation about that arc after, of like, you're in the lodge, and then it's those days after as it integrates. I was going through so much of many different parts of my life, and it felt like there was some that was having to slough off or detox away or melt away, that was blocking me from being in my true self. But also then there was all this stuff that felt like I was waking up to, or actually realizing, or was it remembering? Was it calling in? Maybe it was both things happening all at the same time, but it was such an incredibly powerful journey. So it's the lodge itself, and then it continues. Can you speak about that continuation and those the 4 days after, but then what's actually happening? What have you seen happen over that arc of time?
Well, the lodge is, I like to refer to it as Hotel California sometimes. You can check out, but you can never leave. It stays with you. The clients down south, or anybody that comes here, they say, well, where can I find the lodge at? They say, one from Missouri. I say, well, I don't know, but you check out and find a good reputable person that's in the helping people, not showing off. Then you've got the right one. I says, but you'll always have this with you. This will never leave you. So that's that aspect of it. And then when you in particular, it opened up a lot of doors that you had shut.
Yeah, sure did.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of slams them open sometimes, and that's when the realization hits you, going, oh, okay, yes, now I can deal with this. Yeah, I either need it or I don't, If it serves me, I keep it. If it doesn't, then I need to trickle it away.
Yeah.
Don't have to be mean about it, but sometimes you have to get firm with yourself and things, take that step.
Wow.
And the lodge has got it's got you, it's going to carry you through that step. And like I said, being around people that help other people, it's always good, because I used to have people come here. I called it, have a gathering once a year, and I called it Gathering of the Eagles, which means that people who help people need help sometimes themselves. And so come here once a year, we'll all get together, we'll share our medicines, we'll get in the lodge, we'll all rejuvenate. We're done, we go back out into the world. And how I figured that out was I had a woman that said, I'm boss at the correctional facility, and all my people tell me to come down here and do lodge because when I come back, I'm a different person. It helps you. So they tell me to come down here and do sweat. Okay. So yeah, it does. It's a lot of avenues in that medicine, in that ceremony. Ceremony is a medicine.
I'm so resonating with the Gathering of Eagles and the importance in our work. Gabrielle and I talk about like the importance of healing the healers, and how easy it is as someone who's in a helping profession, whether it's a healing profession or profession might be the wrong word, but that someone is here to be helping on the planet in some way, shape, or form in service of others, and how intense that can be, and the propensity for utter burnout and just depletion and running ourselves raw and ragged and not resourcing and how important that is to support the healers and helpers of this world. That's such a deeply shared mission that I'm so moved to hear you speak about, this gathering of eagles and the importance of that. And I want to go back to this piece around the ceremony can be done at any moment. So we have the lodge, and yes, the lodge and a ceremony like that can be one of those tectonic plate shifters that is really deeply transformative and restorative and helps us, it's a bigger ritual and ceremony. And then there are the smaller ceremonies that can be done with intention anytime, that we can create those in our lives and weave that into our daily life as a reminder, as a reconnector, as a resourcing reminder to be in communion and connection, bring us back to connection. Can you speak a little bit more about that as healers and helpers? Like how can we weave that consciousness? So yes, we might be able to go out and do a bigger ceremony or a sweat, and then how do we actually weave these smaller ceremonies into our lives in a way that helps us sustain that deeper reset and refuel that might come from the bigger experiences?
In other words, reminders. Each ceremony is a reminder of who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going. There's a simplicity in nature, yet there's an intricacy in nature. Like birds, they fly, they do this, they do that. They build nests that are round. Okay, where did that come from? So it all boils down to that reminder. We're connected. We go out and help people doing that daily ceremony, whatever, no matter what it is. As long as it's you consider it a sacred thing, a thing you do to honor all things. We're just one little grain of sand on the beach. But without us, the beach wouldn't be there, right? The sand would be gone, right? Because we're the sand, right? I don't know if that makes any sense to you or not, but that's one of my little analogies. They come to me in many, many ways, and some of the greatest people ever walked the planet, they were well aware of those, and they used them. They were always divinely given. Where'd you get that at? Source. What's source? It's all around you. All you got to do is know it's there. Therefore, your ceremony. All interconnected, my dear. All interconnected. Simple, but yet intricate. The tree roots touch each other. All the way to the end of the forest. As above, so below. All these words of wisdom that's been given to us. And we just need to take the time to examine it and see where it leads you to. Because it's your path, your journey. And it's a beautiful thing. And everyone has their own journey. That respect there has to be there. You can't say that I'm better than you. You can say you're better than me, but you can say that. Doesn't mean I have to listen to it because I know who I am. But I respect you for you, always. Reciprocal, like the engine, one piston, next one, all in a divine order of timing. Timing is important too. We think it is anyway, but in divine, timing is an option.
I'm being reminded of something that I think we talked about over, one of our many meals, and in the way in which you were speaking about this. I can't remember exactly how you put it, but almost like there's the source and we're each plugging into our own unique way, but it's all plugging into the same thing. And I see that almost like different facets of the same source energy.
We get asked all the time what we do to take care of ourselves. So we decided to gather the top 5 self-care tips and techniques we use on the daily and gift them to you for free. It's called the Ultimate Self-Care Bundle to clear your energy, boost your vitality, and feed your soul. We'll share the golden rule to health, well-being, and happiness no one should live without, a delicious energetic detox bath recipe that relaxes and clears energetic invasions at the same time, a quick immune boost we swear by, and 2 other goodies that will support you when you need them most. So if you're feeling drained, out of sync, or just need a little or big reset, go to lakiaramethod.com/podcast-bundle to claim your free gift. That link will also be in your show notes. We hope these tools bring you as much support as they bring us every single day. All right, back to the show.
You know, our divineness loves humor as well. You know.
Yes.
And that's a good part of learning and sharing messages, is, you know, with a little bit of humor in there, and it kind of feels better than, like, this is if you don't listen to me, you're going to go to hell and damnation. Sorry, it don't work that way with me.
Yeah.
My Cherokee blood says no, there ain't no such thing. So, you know.
I feel like there's so many people right now, because of the way the world is and the devastation and suffering, and in this particular country a lot is crumbling, and I feel like there's so many people that feel like being joyful or playful or humorous or tapping into that energy, they feel guilty for it, or like they shouldn't, or like we need to stay really serious and really in tune with the suffering. And yet I've found, and certainly spending time with you, that humor and joy and laughter is part of the medicine. And I'm curious for you to speak about that medicine of joy and laughter and play.
Yes, and as you were speaking about the turmoil and the chaos and suffering in the world, that is all from disconnection, and the illusion of guilt. Because we're brought up in a I guess a upbringing of if you do this happens, if you do that, this happens. But consequences are one thing, but telling people things that we don't quite understand, that leads to a lot of guilt. And when you have chaos, you have guilt, and you have anger, and you have all sorts of negative energy. I can use an example as the native people. When our lives changed, we didn't have a guilt, we had a suffering, and the people that did that, they had the guilt, and we have overcome that suffering by adapting, moving into the society that's present, and still holding our traditions. And that's the other piece. Most people have lost their traditions. They've lost their, connection is a ceremony in itself. And you get up in the morning, you breathe, thank the air and all that, and that's a ceremony in itself. And if you do that every day, you'll have your connection. If we could all focus on, let's see, I have a 30-06, and I can take out 10 people. Okay. On the other hand, I have a garden hoe, and I can plant 10 rows of potatoes and share it with my neighbor. Because you're connecting to the earth. You're not connecting to anything with a rifle. Nothing. But when you talk about the earth, you have a connection. And then I'd much rather plant 10 rows of potatoes. So when you think about getting angry with people, just think about planting a garden.
I love that redirection.
Well, I mean, it's a positive way of, and the earth loves it. And then you're paying attention to the earth and say, oh, well, if I keep throwing my trash around, I won't have any place to grow garden anymore. So it all works out. The native people were kind of the cleansers of the earth at the time. They used everything, didn't waste much. Their trash pits were bones and things that they never could use, and they covered them up. and they moved on down whenever the flies got too bad, they moved on down the creek. So they were kind of like stewards of the earth, and so we have that same choice. I think the answer to all that stuff, those who want to rule, control, and dominate, but you don't have to buy into that. Us native people have been looking at that domination for a long time, and I choose not to look at it. Don't dominate me. I'm free, and everybody else is too. Everybody's free in this country. But I'm getting off on a tangent there. I better quit.
No, I know. I appreciate it. You cut out for like a 1 second of that, speaking about domination. But what I'm hearing you say is that even in a society where domination is in a lot of ways leading
yeah.
or is
prevalent,
huge,
yeah.
prevalent all over the place, that you're saying there is a way to be free even if there's domination all around. I'm so curious because I know in a Western mind, a lot of people might be like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? How could you say that we're all free if we're being dominated? And I'm curious if part of what you mean by that is where we plug in and how we relate to the domination and how we relate to the earth and community, plugging into a different station than the domination. Is that part of the freedom?
Well, in between the earth and the sky, there's a lot of space. And so you're all in that space, no matter what's going on around you. And that's one way to look at freedom. Everybody's confined in this air, right? Without it, we wouldn't live. So we are dominated by the air. So you can look at it in that respect and see, well, there's a beauty in that, but somebody tell me what I can do, what I can't do. That's a different story. Then we have to look at why we can't do that and why is it not good. If we look 7 generations down the road in our decisions, we would see what we need to do and what we don't need to do. How's it going to affect our future? In domination, you can still do that. You can still live your truth. Everybody has that choice, or everybody has that. That's why I say everybody has that freedom. Choice is a freedom.
I always love talking with you because you say it so simply, and yet I feel like it's such a profound shift in consciousness to look at the world that way. And so I feel like there's so many of us are living in the victim mentality, or like I don't have a choice. What do you mean? What do you mean I have a choice to be in freedom when there's domination, and to feel the opening that comes in, at least in my consciousness, to say, wait, what? Okay, freedom. What does freedom look like? What does that mean? How do we plug into that energy of freedom even when there's domination or power over happening out in the world and or in our families and communities, and we're seeing horrific things happening, but there is also the energy or pulse of freedom there as well.
Yeah, you can look at freedom as being a great big wheel, right? And it's our freedom around this wheel, and we have little spokes. And we're the center, and our little spokes go out. So all these different levels of freedom. I'm free to do this. I'm free to do that. I'm free to do this. And so, kind of like the medicine wheel. There's power in that circle, and so we can look at freedom in that respect, and still be under the thumb, so to speak. I mean, I want to treat people as human beings, because that's what we are. And all of our deities, all of our great teachers have been very understanding, and this is how you do it. It doesn't say this is the way. It says you're through the way I do things. All you got to do is just follow what I do. If it feels good, do it. But like I said, here we go back to freedom again. I mean, I guess the only not freedom would be a fish in a gold in a tank or something. I guess there's a freedom in that.
Right, right. I am curious. You spoke to the medicine wheel. I also am feeling to bring in the feather medicine that you do. I had the profound fortune of being on your massage table and receiving from you, and it was so incredibly powerful, and was able to be in the room to witness you working with others. And I'm curious for you to share about that work, what it is, and also how it impacts people, and why you feel like that's an important part of your mission on the planet.
Yeah. The feather medicine kind of came to me by me being in a place that a man from Mexico was doing some work on a lady, and I just happened to be there, and I had heard about feather work, feather medicine down south, and then up in the South Dakota up there, the tribes up there that use them, and so I felt real like it might be interesting. So did a lot of checking in on how they used them in different techniques, and different feathers do different things. And so I thought, okay, if I'm supposed to do this medicine, and then I need to have tools. And so woodpecker is a really, really good tool. And so I said, I need some woodpecker feathers, and I went to a powwow, and sitting there, and a lady walks up and hands me an envelope and says, I'm supposed to give these to you, and she walks away. And in that envelope was a bunch of woodpecker feathers. So that's how I knew that there's something there. I better pay attention. When you get that little ding, you better pay attention. It's always worked. If you try to question it, don't question it too much. You need to get the spiritual 2x4, so to speak. But getting back to the work, yeah, there's a little bit of humor for you. The woodpecker. Let's start with that one. Like I said, it pecks on the tree, and then as it pecks, it breaks through the bark, and it gets the insect or whatever it's after, and the result you see a bunch of holes in the tree. But in the medicine, the woodpecker breaks up things in the body. It's like it's pecking the wood, and that's mainly the main medicine for that, and sweep with the feather to move that energy out after you break it up. And then the hawk feathers or the tail feathers, they drain water. When it rains, the water falls off the back of the tail, and so we use those as to drain things from the body. The different hawks have different. Sparrowhawk is fast. The red tail is helps with the beauty in training. But anyway, many different birds do different things in this work, and you're guided by the way you were taught. You were shown, and then you work with it. I was shown to hold the feathers a certain way, and then one day I was working, and then my hand just turned down. I didn't move it. I could feel it being moved, and so I went with it, and it seemed to work a lot quicker and more effective. And I went, "Thank you." It was divinely given. It's not me that's doing anything. I'm just like a hollow bone. It's whatever's happening is happening, by spirit, by the divine healing, that space that we all live in. I was talking about. That's the divine. That is the divine, and we're all living in the divine. So wow, what a concept, huh?
Yeah.
So we draw into it, and that's what the native people, they understood nature. They understood the birds. It's hard to really describe. Well, you'd be sitting somewhere meditating, and all of a sudden you get this, oh wow, I could have had a V8, or something like that, a revelation, and that's the divineness working with your higher self. As the ancient teachers always said, the divine is within you and around you. So when you understand that and accept it, I think therefore you're on your path. accepting, and because, well, I'm not worthy of that. Well, what do you mean worthy? You just stand there and hold the feathers and ask for the healing for this person. I think that unworthiness is a what do you call those, illusions?
Mm.
Yeah, because we're not. All of us are worthy. And getting into that realm, and realizing it and accepting it. That's the two things that hold people back. Well, why do I deserve it? You were born. Okay, let's start there. Food is given to you. Why? They didn't have to. Could have let you sit in the crib, but no. So you must be worthy of something, right? Okay, and you're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to learn. You're allowed to think. You're allowed to voice your opinions. So worthiness is, I guess, a concept in the individual, and worthiness does not mean you got an ego the size of a train. It just means that you know who you are and understand that, and everybody else has got the same space in their head, and around them, and allowing that. I guess it's all about part of that being present in the moment with whoever you're working with or whatever you're doing.
It's so beautiful. There's so many different layers here that I'm hearing, but I loved experiencing and feeling the different energies of the different feathers. And I didn't know 100%, like we hadn't gone through and you hadn't told me every single feather and what it did, but to feel the different energies that were being offered in and to feel how my body and energy field was responding was so powerful. And like the invitation that was there that I could feel coming through the feathers, coming through you, coming through that space, and what it awakened or opened in me, or what was ready to clear or drain out of my body. It was such a incredible dance and so unexpected what came up for me, at least. Like it always fascinates me when you have, for me, someone who's done a lot of healing work in my life and had many sessions for many different people. It's so incredible to me that sitting there with the feathers, with you, with the people that were in the room, that particular piece came up for me. And I'm really loving you actually explaining the different offerings that come with the different energies of each of the feathers. I will say probably the thing that was, there's so many things for me that so healing to me, and be in conversation with you is kind of ridiculous, but there's something I just want to acknowledge and honor in you, as how much you really see the humanness in every single person and the gifts that are there, and that there was confusion in me, quite honestly, about being a white woman who does healing work in the world, and to come and to be so enveloped with love and welcoming and to feel so seen by you. It felt like it opened something in me. Not that I wanted permission or needed permission, but I guess I sort of felt like that I was confused by my own relationship with the healer self of me being in the body that I'm in. And I'm curious for you to talk a little bit about like what it is to, especially being in a white body and being so disconnected from my cultural roots, not living on the land of my ancestors. Like so many of us here aren't connected in that way to the earth and to our ancestors and to the culture of our ancestors. And yet here there's your people and the Indigenous people that have been here for thousands of years and are still here holding those ancient ways. What is it for us as white people to honor, to hold, to respect, to support you all in that? And also, what is it for us to connect in with our own spiritual selves?
Let's start at the beginning again.
Yes.
Color is optional. The color of the skin is optional, but the divine doesn't care what color you are. Whether you're white, black, green, yellow, it doesn't matter. First of all, that's my take on it. And worthiness, a lot of the white folks did, a lot of things that went on in Europe and over here, it was always conquering and pillaging and killing and all that stuff. So a lot of guilt came with the people that came, a lot of that stuff. That's why the persecuted became the persecutors. But getting to what you were saying, doing spiritual work or doing medicine work is totally you. It doesn't matter where you come from, what color you are. When you feel that you can help someone, then that's a sign. If you just go around life saying, "Oh, I'll just have a hamburger instead," that's you're not supposed to do it. But if you feel it, then there's something going on, and the whole population that can't do that. So there's those that do feel that, and those are the ones that are called to help other people, and the respect of just being one of those that hey, I may sound crazy, but I want to help people. Why is it crazy? It's not. That is your calling. And it's like some guy can cut wood and make cabinets, beautiful stuff. That's what he did, right? That was his calling. And so there's no difference in his calling than our calling. And you just understand that, and your worthiness comes with that knowing. The knowing brings a lot of questions and doubts up front, where you can deal with them and toss them to the side. Do I need this in my life? No. Okay, bye. Do I need this in my life? Yes. Okay, we'll hang on to that one. And same when I'm working with people with feathers. I have you've ever been in an operating room? They have I was a tech for a long time, and they laid out the instruments, and then they worked with what they needed. Hand me a pair of scissors, whatever I can't remember all the names, but anyway, it's the same with the feathers. You look at them, and okay, that one feels like I should use this one. Okay, and so it's all by divineness. I mean, of course, what woodpeckers are going to do. What this one's going to do, but the rest of it, I might be hummingbird feathers sitting there. Well, this person needs some joy. Okay, what is hummingbird? Joy and movement. If you're sad, then you're not moving. You become stagnant. So bring a little joy into your life, and hey, you'll start moving around. Let's go dance, or let's go do this. And I think you ski a lot, right? There's a joy.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like that, and you just have to, don't come from the ego, come from heart. Right. I guarantee it. Yeah, every culture, I don't care, every culture had their own way of bathing, in the water, and they also heated rocks to cleanse themselves before battle or before this, before that. So every culture has their own ceremonies. And, I'm lucky to be close to where I don't know the ceremonies here. Say a guy that's Irish, he has to go all the way over to Ireland to understand his old ceremonies, if he wants to do that.
Yeah.
Or he could, you know what I'm saying. And so native ceremonies are handy, and everybody has a ceremonial background.
Yeah.
Way back in, Uncle John, Uncle Joe, way back there, some of them. So, in church, they go to Sunday. Everybody goes to Sunday, right? That's a ceremony, going to church.
I really, really appreciate it, and that's been part of my own journey. And Melody, who's a dear friend who introduced us, actually, and she took me and my partner to Ireland to be on our ancestral land and be in the sacred sites of our actual ancestors. And I can't even begin to tell you how transformative and powerful that was, to actually be on the land of my ancestors who had done sacred ceremony on that land for thousands of years, and to feel the ancestors of the land and be like, oh my gosh, these are literally my ancestors. Like, it was such a different feeling, and such a hugely transformative time in my life, to feel that reconnection right back to the source of my own spiritual and ritualistic roots in Ireland.
Yeah, you felt your connection. There you go.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You
Yeah.
found it. That's great.
Absolutely.
You know, you felt it. So yeah,
Yeah. It's powerful.
that's a great
So
opportunity
powerful.
to do that. You know, wow.
I know, what a gift. What a gift. What a gift Melody is too. what a beautiful human to go with. And to come to you with just such a beautiful gift of a human in my life, for sure. It is so wild how fast these things go, but I really want to hear specifically about the center that you have and your work with addiction and whatever you want to share about it.
I started the center as a place for me to get rid of my guilt from Vietnam and heal from the Agent Orange and all those things I was exposed to. I had other vets that came and did the lodges. See, the first person that came here was using alcohol too much, and so we worked with it. And you know, in ceremony, the sweat lodge is really addiction because you're so distracted. Sweat lodge distracts you, so to speak. It takes you away from that into another place. And in there you can say that I want to be rid of this problem. I don't need it in my life. And when you're in ceremony, it's like you're speaking your truth. And you know, let's make sure you own up to it, because if you decide to relapse or go back to it, then there might be a consequence. Most likely there will be. And don't let that be the deterrent. Let your own self, your higher self, your worthiness get you out of that. But if you do happen to fail, you might get sick from doing it again, and then there's your wake up call again. Okay, now get back on the path. And I found that worked with so many people that I was going around the country doing lodges, you know, and just helping people with. A friend of mine, he dealt in perfumes, oils, and things, and I would put it in the water and for a lodge, and the plant medicine is really good in the lodge. But I was asked to go to Florida. When I went down there, I was asked to go to a rehab and start my program. And so I did, and it worked so well with young adults, middle age, you know. And the big thing about addiction is that they've lost themselves. They're seeking, they're looking, and the answer is always within themselves. I always told them the answer is in the mirror. Lodge, they would come out of the lodge saying, "This is the highest I've ever been." And this is the most at peace you've ever been. You can call it high, you can call it what you want, but you're totally at peace. You're feeling good about yourself, right? Now, keep that. There's your answer. It's in yourself. And I would do Saturday, have little cards. You could pick a card, and it was a totem of an animal or whatever. And say, "Oh, I needed that today because this is how I feel." And then they would come and do lodge, and bring that totem with them, work on it. So the sweat lodge is so important in the way I help people with addiction. Now, there's a lot of other ways, but I found out this to be very effective. I came back from Vietnam, not on heroin or anything, but I kind of had an addiction going on to wanting to get away from life, and so I went to sweat lodge and stopped that behavior real quick. I never did like alcohol anyway, and so alcohol wasn't an issue. But it kept me straight. I figured, well, if it keeps me straight, it'll help other people, and it does. I don't advertise the medicine, because it's if you know someone that needs the help, sure, we'll talk about it. And people are guided to come here, like Melody brought you here,
Yeah.
I didn't know who you was in the world, and then bang, here you are. Oh, cool, and it's just how it works. It's a beautiful thing, I don't hang out a shingle says, well, I'm here on Tuesdays and Thursdays now, 4:00. You got to be here, No, it's like, okay, good talk. Give us a call, And it keeps it personal, and it keeps it, like at the rehab, there was movie stars that sat next to me in lodge, and they come out of there and they went back to what they were doing, and they did well. So there's, and like I said, it doesn't care. Addiction don't care who you are, rich, poor, it doesn't matter where you come from. Addiction is addiction. Same with Sweat Lodge. It doesn't care who you are, but it will help you. And then, the center, has just grown from that. I was down there. We had a program down there for 7 years, and I had a person helping me out down there, and you got this center started up here, and got some donations for cabins, and it's just amazing that it came from that. A couple of Russian boys that were here for one was just 6 months, the other one here for a year, because they just loved it here, and they're out there in the world now being responsible people. And their folks donated cabins so we could help other people, and so it's grown by donation, and that's how we work. And when it does that, when it grows like that through donations, there's a divine presence there that's working and helping. Sure, I wanted to have 10 cabins right away. Oh no, you'll start with 1, then you'll get 2. It's all about being patient, and and try to save the world. Well, the world will come when it's time.
Oh my gosh, that's a lesson in and of itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The patience, especially for those of us who are wanting to help and shift and change the world, and it's like, oh right, but we have to do it also in divine timing and listening and patience and all of that.
Indeed, sister.
Yeah. Well, I could go on and on. I just so adore talking to you, and I'm so grateful for you coming and sharing this time with me, and sharing your wisdom and love and humor with our audience.
It's an honor for me to have this opportunity to speak to you and whoever's listening, and and hopefully they will breathe a little easier and smile more.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Activate Change community. If you want even more amazing content, head over to lakiaramethod.com. And while you're there, be sure to join our email list so you don't miss a thing. You'll get instant access to our ultimate self-care bundle to clear your energy, boost your vitality, and feed your soul, plus exclusive content, special invites to live events, and personal updates we don't share anywhere else. We're so grateful to be on this journey with you. See you next time. Saying a huge thank you to Ali Halpert, the incredible musician and songwriter behind the songs featured in this podcast. To hear more of Ali's work, visit alihalpert.com. You'll also find the link in our show notes.